Hey there, YouTubers. Today is going to be a product review. I'm going to try to do this one well. Sometimes I don't always. Sometimes I get all excited, unbox it, show it to you, and then tell you what I think about it. With this one, I'm going to test it for quite a bit and for myself to know how reliable it is. And then hopefully that will also mean when I do post a video, it might be helpful to other people. So I'm going to unbox it now. I see that I have opened the wrong side of the box. I got it upside down. Let's get this 12-volt fridge freezer out of here now. It got left on my porch upside down. I was in a rush and just carried it in and went off. So you do not want these compressors left upside down. You need the oil to be where it's supposed to be. So I left it right side up overnight before turning it on. There's all the stuff inside. So right off the bat, something dumb in this video, but I turned it over, and just so you know, it ends up being fine, but you have to be really careful not to do something like that. Stuff in a minute. Again, the main reason I got this is for Vinny. With him being diabetic, the fridge in my RV is awesome. My RV van is 23 years old, and my three-way fridge works fantastic. Almost too good. The problem with it is it can get too cold. If it's really hot outside, it does a decent job of keeping stuff good. But if it's less than hot outside, it's really difficult to dial in the temperature on that. So yeah. So right 14 inches tall is a foot. It's 12 inches deep. Exactly 22 inches. Inside, 7 inches tall. It's 14 inches wide. But then you can see you can go taller in the center. You can add another just about 3 inches. All right, what we have here is the 12-volt attachment. See, 12 volt as such, that plugs into the power, and there's 12 volt. Pretty standard stuff. There's a couple little feet here for it. Let's see what those are for later. I'm gonna actually read the instructions. I got scared for a second. It's stuck in there. So this is a converter, so you can plug it into power. And obviously whenever I'm on power, that's what I'll use. And if I didn't have this, I have a couple converters that you can plug this in and then plug it into the wall. So that's it for now. I'm gonna do some reading and then we'll see what's gonna happen next. All right, I decided to include some stuff from the Amazon webpage. So if you're looking for the description, this is the item and it shows you the compressor and all that. Again, don't let it be upside down. You could damage it. You need that oil to circulate properly through the motor and not burn it up. Again, let it sit, and it's going to run for a long time in this video, and everything turns out just fine. I'm overall pretty happy with it. I'm going to show you, you can read the stuff about how loud it is and all that. But I'm going to show you it running on 12 volt off of Jackery, which is kind of interesting. It's going to be in the upcoming video. And I'm also going to show you just plugged into the walls. And spoiler alert, 2 thumbs up. I think it's a good product. All right, so what I have here, this is going to tell me how much power it's actually using. They can say whatever they want in the ads. Into the wall, all the lights came on. All right, we're going to get a little closer. So here's the monitor. And it's using 0.8 watts, which is pretty much what it takes to power this thing. Pretty close. I have 2 refrigerator thermometers. They both say right at 70. So I'm going to put these both in here. I'm going to try to see how accurate it is compared to this. Press and hold the power on button for 3 seconds. Okay, it is on. It's also got instructions here. Do the temp. Let's see how far. It'll go to 8 below. I'm going to take it to 0. The current time is 1 p.m. I'm going to close the lid. I'm going to keep an eye on it. As it's working hard, 33.6 watts. That's all I'm going to worry about doing now. I'll do some of the other features first. And again, I'm going to let this run. There's a list of error codes. I have no error codes to report. And I don't think it's too loud. I also think this is going to fit in my wardrobe in my van. And I have a plug in there So I might figure out a way for that to work. I was gonna keep it between the van seats, but I didn't. I got this for $209. If you get to the end of this and you're interested in it, make sure to watch the price on Amazon, because it seems like every couple weeks it jumps up to $280, like $279. It'll stay there for a few days and then it drops right back down to $209. So yeah, it's telling you how many volts it's using. It says it's using 14.3 volts right now. And it actually got warmer in there. So we'll see if that stays the same way. All right, after a quick minute, I'm putting my hand inside here and I can feel that it's getting cold on the side already. So that's a good thing. Hasn't changed the temperature much, but it's getting cold. Okay, it has been 20 minutes. It is down to 46 degrees. It's using 51.3 watts. I'm gonna open it, which is not a good idea, and we're gonna look at what these things are saying. This is saying it's colder than that's saying. This is saying it's in the fridge zone already, which is good. Yeah, it's pretty close to being accurate. I would say that's pretty accurate. You can see it. I'll time lapse it. I made this a little longer than some might want, but trying to do a full thing, and you can see the meter on how much power it's using and the temp. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, in about 23 minutes it got down from 70 degrees in there basically to 41, which is refrigerator temperature, in 23 minutes. That's pretty darn good. Like I said, I'm gonna get it all the way down to 0, and I'm gonna let it run for a while and see how it holds up. Quite a few hours. Then tonight I'll turn it off, and then tomorrow I'm gonna, once it gets warm again, I'm gonna turn it back and get it to refrigerator mode and make sure that it maintains a temperature that will work for my cat's insulin. So here we go. I'll let the time lapse keep going. 40 degrees right now, 50.6 watts. So yeah, this has gotten pretty long, but my hope is to try to share something that's actually helpful. You can see how it progresses and how well it maintains temperature, and then we'll go to refrigerator mode and running off of something else tomorrow. All right, YouTubers, you've been off the air. 30 minutes to get down to 30 degrees, 45 minutes, and it is down to 9 degrees. I'm gonna open up the inside, look at these, and that looks like it's very accurate. Look at the second one. That also looks like it's very accurate. We're gonna see how long it takes to get to 0. It's using 46.7 watts at the moment. And I will let this run for a minute. Again, more of the probably unnecessary time lapse, but seeing how much power it continuously uses as it's getting cold might be helpful. And again, I'm pretty impressed overall that the temperature gauge on the outside is pretty accurate when I've put these thermometers inside. So that's another good thing. All right, interesting fact. It got down to 0. Hopefully you can see that it's 0. And obviously the compressor shuts off and it turns back on when it starts warming up. The fan was a little loud. I didn't think it was terrible, but it's a little loud and it's not drawing any power. And we'll see what it says inside. That says 0 degrees. That's one of my important parts, is I want to see if how accurate it is. That says 0 degrees. So I'm going to close the lid, and I'm just going to keep it on here and see how often it kicks the motor back on. It took about 55 minutes from it to go to from 70 down to 0. But I'll give you an update, and you'll see the update like right after this. Okay, we're back. It is 3 o'clock. It's been running for 2 hours. It's a little cold on the outside to the touch, except by the motor down here. It's been running for 2 hours. It has stayed at 0. What it does is it goes to 0, then it'll shut off. And as it gets back up to 2 degrees, it kicks back on and it gets it cold again. It's at 1 right now and the motor's running. And it's using 47.5 watts. Let's see what this says inside. It's still, it might be a degree. Well, no, it's right about there. That's right about right. This is saying about 2 degrees, and this thing is saying 1, and it just went down to 1. So I think it's accurate. I'm gonna let it run for a couple more hours, at least, and then we'll see. Okay, it is 6 o'clock. It has been running for 5 hours. It turns on and off a little bit. Seems to have run great. I'm saying the temperature is 1 right now. Looks like it's relatively accurate. And it might be 2 here. And it got cold really quickly without any food in it. And a lot of times they'll get cold quicker because there's frozen food or whatever food already in it that's cold. It turned on and off a fair amount of time, not too much. When it's off, it's not pulling any juice. And so far, I'm gonna call this part a success. This is a good first test. Ran for 5 hours without any problems. I'm gonna unplug it, and then tomorrow I'm gonna test it as a refrigerator, and I'll add to this video. So hopefully, so far, it's a thumbs up. And I'm just gonna hold the button for 3 seconds. Turned it off. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug it, even though it's not pulling any juice. And yeah, like I said, we'll get this figured out and I'll add to the video. All right, I'm gonna plug this in. The next day, we're gonna do the next test. I have another thermometer. This one is digital, might be easier. These say right about 70. They're pretty close to the same temperature. This, and we're gonna do a couple different tests that I hope work. Hold this for 3 seconds. Turn it on. Set it to 42 degrees, I think. Okay, it's taken about 20 minutes and it's down to 45 degrees. And check it real quick. It says 52.2. Huh. This says it's colder than that. It's just above 30. And they're all over the place. So I'm gonna close it and let it get stable and see what they say. What I'm gonna do now, well, we'll open this up. It says 43 there. This says 43.9, so it's doing well. These look a little bit colder, but pretty close. That one's right about right. This one looks a tiny bit cooler. But what I'm gonna do now, a test for me, and I figured you guys might like it too. All right, so what I got here is I got my Jackery. It is fully charged to 100%. Plug it in, turn it on. Okay, I got it set. I'm gonna watch the fan. I'm gonna see how much it takes when it's running off a 12 volt. And I'm gonna also see how well the Jackery does using it as a power, because what I figure if I ever do that when I'm dry camping or boondocking, I will probably have this hooked up to the van battery as I'm driving to get it cold. So a more accurate thing for how I plan on using it is to see how long it'll run when it's already gotten cold. So we'll come back and we'll see what it does. Okay, it got to 46 and it turned right back on. And it's pulling 45 watts. So it does seem, once it gets to 45 where I set it, once it gets above that, it turns right on. But then what it seems to do is before it turns off, it ends up going down a couple 3-4 degrees before it comes back up. So if you want something kept at a specific temperature, there's a little bit of fluctuation, but I mean, I don't know what else you expect. I think I'm very happy with it. And again, it's pulling 44 watts and it's been going about an hour and it's only taken 2% off of my Jackery. So I think this is gonna be working really good, but I'll keep looking at it and update it for you. Here's something you can read if you want to. This part might be a problem. There's a seam there that I guess stuff could get in. I'm not too worried about it. A little bit more information on temps. That's what it looks like. It's a good looking cooler. It's got a decent accurate thermometer on it, and you can run it off a Jackery. All right, the fan just turned on. Pulling 48 watts with the fan running. 46. And again, this is just going to be to keep it stable. So I'll let it run for a bit. I wish the light stayed on the Jackery better. But again, this is a Jackery 240, so I'm not going to get a huge amount of time on it. But, you know, it's not pulling a ton of power out of it, as you can see it. Now, I do think to get it cold a long time, to get it down to cold, it would probably eat up the battery a bit. But to keep it cold, it should do great. It should last a long time. So I'm going to come back here and check it in a while, and I'll give you an update. All right, even though the compressor shut off when it got below 45, it has dropped to 41. It seems to do that and cycle back up. This says it's 39, so it's within a couple degrees. This says about the same. I'm really making sure. This says right about the same. So I might have to learn how to use it and dial it in. We'll see if it, over time, sometimes I read some other things that said it might get back into shape. So it drops about 4 degrees lower than you set it at this point. I'm learning. We'll see. I'll keep testing it. And again, that's even after you've shut the compressor off. You know, once it's reached your desired temperature and shuts the compressor off, it keeps staying cold. Okay, it's been over 2 hours. It just kicked back on. You can hear it's not very loud. It gets to 46 and it turns back on because I got it set to 45. I'm still at 94%. It's switching back, as you can see, so it's not using a lot of power. I'll open this up. We'll see. This says that it's 43 in there. This says about the same, and this says about the same. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's doing well. I might change the temp here. Let me unlock it. Turn it down to 44. And I'll lock it. So it's been 3 hours that this has been hooked up to the Jackery. Again, it's just the Jackery 240. And it's only used 10% of the battery after 3 hours, which is cool. Again, it turns itself off a lot, so it wasn't using any power. It says it's 41. This says it's 39, so it seems to be a couple degrees difference between what it says and what it is. Yeah, that's about the same. And that shows it being a little bit warmer. So it's interesting. They're all down in there. And it seems like this, I set it at 45. Once it shuts off, it drops down. It keeps getting cooler even though it's not running. And then it'll start warming back up. And once it gets to 46, it turns back on for a little bit. So it's, I'm very happy with it, but it's not exact. You know, with something turning on and off like that, it doesn't seem to be exact yet. But I'm going to keep it running, see how it does. All right, it's been running 5.5 hours, and it's at 83%. It's not drawing anything because it doesn't need to. It's cold. It's 41 degrees here, and it's become a lot more stable. There's not as big temperature variations. That's 40.6. It's about exactly right, and that's right at 40. And that is right at 40. So I think it might have just taken it some time to work itself into consistency. We'll see how it keeps going. All right, YouTubers. Here's the review. It's 42 degrees. It's not running because it would set higher. This is saying 41. So it stayed within 3 at the worst degrees of what the outside said. Yep, 40 degrees. And maybe they're saying 39 instead of 40, but it's pretty darn accurate. It's been running for 8 hours off the Jackery. And 8 hours, it has used 25% of the battery. So once you get this cold, I think a Jackery will do a good job of keeping it cold. I'm not even going to try to tell you how to pronounce it again. That's the name of the company. I don't understand, but that's the name. And that is the cooler. So if you're looking for something, again, I got this for $209, and this first 2-day test, I'm pretty darn happy with it. Hope it was helpful. Have a great and wonderful day.